imagine you have just like 90 days to completely save your career. And not because you're suddenly terrible at your job or because your company is doing layoffs,
Right.
but because a colleague, sitting maybe 3 desks down from you, just figured out how to do your exact job 10 times faster
Right.
with better strategy. And they are not working a single minute of overtime to pull it off.
Yeah, that's the silent crisis happening in office buildings and, remote workspaces everywhere right now. It's
Yeah,
this slow-moving tectonic shift.
exactly.
People really think they're competing against artificial intelligence, but they aren't. They are competing against other humans who have achieved just absolute fluency in using that intelligence.
And that is exactly why you, our favorite ever-curious learner, are here for today's deep dive. Because today, March 26, 2026, this massive announcement just dropped from EON AI Ventures.
A big one.
It is. They've unveiled something they're calling the EON AI Fluency Platform. And our mission today is to figure out why just, using a chatbot isn't really going to cut it anymore.
Yeah, not at all.
We're looking at this comprehensive blueprint for how individuals and even massive global organizations can avoid falling into the bottom half of what is very rapidly becoming a permanently two-tier workforce.
Right. And to really grasp what's happening here, we need to kind of separate this from the usual tech news cycle because we spend so much time obsessing over the release of new underlying AI models.
Oh, totally. The next big update, the next version number.
Exactly. The engines, so to speak. But that is not what EON AI Ventures is doing today. They aren't building a new engine. They are releasing a scalable ecosystem that's designed to teach humans how to actually harness the engines we already have.
Which is so needed right now.
It really is. They're building a structured, immersive environment for high-stakes, real-world application.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can really look at EON's specific platform, we kind of need to look at the friction that caused them to build it in the first place, right? This workforce fluency gap.
Yeah, the gap is getting wide.
There is some striking data from the Anthropic Economic Index that came out earlier this month. And it shows that experienced users, so people who've spent, say, 6 or more months really mastering tools like Claude Wigger, they have a 10% higher AI success rate compared to newcomers.
Which, a 10% bump might sound incredibly modest if you're just looking at a single Tuesday afternoon.
Right, like, oh, I saved a few minutes.
Exactly. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to run the math on compounded daily productivity. Imagine a complex task that normally takes 10 hours. A fluent user saves an hour.
Oh, okay.
They then reinvest that hour into strategic planning, which makes their next task even faster.
Yeah.
So over 250 working days a year, compounded across thousands of employees, that 10% isn't just a bump anymore.
It's massive.
It's an insurmountable competitive advantage. It translates to months of extra cognitive output per person per year.
But I want to push back on this framing just a little bit, because the materials driving this announcement, they talk a lot about how organizations are stuck in what they call dumb AI use cases.
Yes, the dumb AI trap.
Right. Simple automation, grammar checks, formatting meeting notes. But wait, if I use AI to draft a quick email or fix my spreadsheets, that still saves me like 20 minutes a day. Why are they calling that dumb AI when it's actively making my life easier? It feels like we've all been handed the keys to a Formula One car, but most of us are just using it to drive to the grocery store in first gear.
That's a great analogy. And what's fascinating here is the massive opportunity cost. Dumb AI in this specific context means treating a revolutionary cognitive technology like a glorified spell checker.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, it saves you 20 minutes, but it doesn't fundamentally change your cognitive ceiling. It just automates a chore. Smart AI, on the other hand, is about genuine thought partnership.
Okay, so what does that actually look like in practice?
It's about feeding an AI a flawed strategic plan, asking it to adopt the persona of your harshest critic, and having it stress test your assumptions before you ever step foot in a boardroom to present it.
Oh, wow. So dumb AI is basically delegating the bottom of your to-do list, while smart AI is elevating the absolute peak of your capability.
That is the exact defining line. And just look at the anxiety out there right now. Over half the workforce, I think it's 57% of voters, according to recent polling, they are terrified of the risks this tech poses to their livelihoods.
Which is completely understandable.
It is, and that friction exists because people lack a structured path to actual fluency. So you end up with a workforce that's just cleaved in two. On one side, passive users anxiously fixing typos.
Right.
And on the other, a new tier of transformative leaders using it to scale their entire strategic vision. That divide is what EON AI Ventures is explicitly trying to eradicate today.
So if passive use isn't going to bridge that divide, and dumb AI is just a trap, how does someone actually learn smart AI? Because you can't just, read a PDF manual about thought partnership and suddenly be great at it. You have to practice it,
You absolutely do.
which leads us directly into EON's core concept here, the AI Proficiency Ladder. They have mapped out this structured 90-day path to take an absolute beginner and turn them into a job-ready, fluent AI professional.
And rewiring how an adult professional thinks and operates in just 3 months that's a wildly ambitious claim.
It really is.
But the mechanism they are deploying to achieve it is what we really need to examine closely.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The first major step on this 90-day ladder is a tool they call the Brainy Socratic Tutor 2.0. And this is not just a chatbot that gives you the right answer when you get stuck.
No, not at all.
The documentation emphasizes that it integrates Bloom's taxonomy alongside persistent memory and emotional intelligence. But I have to admit, I don't fully remember my college pedagogy classes. What actually is Bloom's taxonomy, and how does a computer use it?
It's a great question, and it's essential to understand this if you want to understand how human adults actually learn. Bloom's taxonomy is essentially a pyramid of cognitive skills.
Okay, picture a pyramid.
Right. At the very bottom, you have basic remembering, just memorizing facts. The next step up is understanding, then applying that knowledge. Near the top, you get to analyzing and evaluating, and the absolute peak of the pyramid is creating or synthesizing entirely new ideas.
So traditional corporate training, like clicking through a boring slide deck and taking a multiple-choice quiz that's stuck at the very bottom of that pyramid, just remembering facts.
Exactly the problem. It is entirely passive. The Brainy Socratic Tutor is explicitly programmed to drag the user up that pyramid. It literally refuses to let you just recall information.
Right, really? It refuses.
Yes, it demands that you apply and synthesize. But to do that without making the user just quit in frustration requires that other feature you mentioned, emotional intelligence.
Right, but how does an AI actually demonstrate emotional intelligence? I mean, it doesn't have feelings. How does EQ actually help someone move from being a basic skilled collaborator to an AI-augmented professional?
Think about the mechanics of a great human teacher. They don't just grade your paper, right? They read the room.
Sure.
If a student is breezing through the material, a good teacher throws a harder question at them to keep them engaged. If a student is shutting down in frustration, the teacher dials back the complexity and offers a lifeline.
Okay. Yeah.
The Socratic Tutor does this programmatically. It analyzes your response times, the complexity of your phrasing, the number of times you erase a prompt before sending it, and even the tone of your text to gauge your frustration or boredom.
That is wild. So if I'm doing a prompt engineering exercise and I just keep failing to get the right output, the tutor actually senses my frustration. And instead of just giving me the answer, which would drop me back to the bottom of that learning pyramid, it might ask me a guiding question to help me figure it out myself.
Exactly. It maintains a dynamic challenge level. It pushes you right to the edge of your capability, which is the zone where actual synthesis happens. But it uses its programmatic empathy to ensure you don't give up. It demands thought partnership by acting as an emotionally supportive thought partner itself.
Okay, so the Socratic Tutor makes me great at data analysis and prompt engineering. It pulls me to the top of Bloom's taxonomy. But if I take all that brilliant AI-synthesized data and present it like an absolute jerk in the boardroom, I am still going to fail.
Oh, 100%.
Technical fluency doesn't solve social ineptitude. So how does EON prevent someone from being a prompt genius who can't actually navigate a company's culture?
This raises an important question about the limits of screen-based learning. And this is where the platform pivots from being an impressive technical tutor into a genuinely transformative spatial tool. It tackles the hardest thing in the world to teach, soft skills.
Right, the platform includes this feature called Brainy Multi-Avatar Soft Skills, which deploys up to 4 different AI avatars simultaneously to simulate real-world leadership scenarios.
Yeah.
We're talking about practicing conflict resolution, running a tense sales strategy, or navigating a really hostile team negotiation. It's basically a hyper-realistic flight simulator for board meetings and difficult office politics.
It really is.
But the announcement specifically mentions XR, extended reality.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean for the person taking the training? Are they sitting there wearing a bulky headset?
Well, XR is a spectrum. Depending on the enterprise setup, it could mean stepping into a fully immersive virtual reality headset where these four avatars are literally sitting around a digital boardroom table with you. Or it could be a high-fidelity spatial environment on a flat screen where the avatars react dynamically to your voice and your facial expressions. The core mechanism is the immersion.
Because reading a book about conflict resolution is very, very different from having three digital avatars actively arguing with you in real time.
Exactly. And, pilots don't just sit in flight simulators for the pretty visual experience. The actual value of a simulator is the telemetry.
The data it collects.
Right. A flight simulator tracks engine temperature, wind resistance, flap angles. EON is applying that exact principle to human interaction through a tool they call the EON Career Compass.
Wait, hold on. How do you pull telemetry from a conversation?
The Career Compass logs the telemetry of your emotional intelligence. It measures your delay in responding to a hostile avatar. It analyzes your tone of voice, like, did your pitch rise in anger? It tracks your phrasing choices to see if you use de-escalation tactics or if you became defensive. It quantifies your creativity, your EQ, and your critical thinking under pressure. And then it maps that progress against real-world career mobility.
So it is literally quantifying soft skills. It gives you a dashboard for your own empathy and leadership.
It has to. Because, look, generic AI tools might deliver an 80% quality rate. If you are using AI to draft a routine update email, 80% accuracy is perfectly fine.
Right, nobody cares if an internal update is a masterpiece.
Exactly. But EON AI Ventures is targeting high-stakes operations. You cannot be at 80% when you are negotiating a multi-million-dollar enterprise contract or trying to de-escalate a severe human resources violation. High-stakes operations require 100% quality human judgment.
Right, so you have to practice in the simulator where the stakes feel real, so that when you are in the actual boardroom, your human intuition is perfectly synced with your AI augmentation. You don't crash the plane when real money is on the line.
Precisely the goal, to build what they define as an AI-fluent leader.
Okay, let's unpack this from a slightly different angle. Let's look at it from a logistical perspective.
Yeah.
Because it makes total sense how this multi-avatar simulator works for you, the individual listener, trying to level up your career.
Right.
But EON's announcement leans heavily into global scale. How does a massive enterprise, say a Fortune 500 company, or even a national government, actually roll something like this out? Normally, if a company wants to build a custom curriculum for a 10,000-person workforce, it takes years of consulting and development.
It does. And the problem with AI is that by the time you finish writing a 3-year curriculum, the underlying technology has already completely changed, like 4 times. The traditional timeline is totally obsolete.
Which brings us to a feature called the EON Genesis AI Content Creator. And I have to be honest, I am highly skeptical of the claims around this.
It sounds a bit like sci-fi.
It does. The documentation states that an organization can take dry, proprietary institutional knowledge, things like dusty standard operating procedures, compliance manuals, HR guidelines, and transform them into immersive XR training in minutes. How does a static PDF magically become a 3D spatial roleplay? That sounds like marketing fluff.
I get that, but it sounds like magic until you break down the natural language processing mechanism behind it. The Genesis AI isn't just, taking text and pasting it onto a digital whiteboard in a VR room.
Okay, so what is it doing?
It actually reads the compliance manual and extracts the core entities, the operational rules, and the intended outcomes. And then it maps those extracted rules onto pre-built behavioral trees for the AI avatars.
So if I feed it a 50-page PDF of our company's refund policy.
Yes, the system identifies the specific conditions for a refund, the exceptions, and the required tone of customer service. Then it automatically programs an angry customer avatar to demand a refund that violates those exact rules. And it programs a manager avatar to evaluate how you, the human, handle that angry customer based purely on the PDF's guidelines. It literally converts passive institutional deadweight text into an interactive logic puzzle.
In minutes. I mean, that completely removes the bottleneck of curriculum design.
Yeah.
And the sheer scale of the rollout is staggering. They are launching the EON Global Virtual Campus, which comes preloaded with 9,000 structured courses covering every single level of that 90-day proficiency ladder. And they claim they can deploy this massive infrastructure to an organization of any size in just 30 days.
30 days to completely overhaul a legacy institution's fluency infrastructure. It is a blistering pace.
It makes a lot more sense, though, when you look at who is actually behind EON AI Ventures. They were founded by the leadership team from EON Reality.
Yes, the pedigree is there.
They have 25 years of deep experience in immersive learning and spatial computing. They aren't just some brand new startup slapping an AI label on a product. They're taking 2.5 decades of institutional knowledge about how people learn in extended reality and turbocharging the back end with AI.
And that 25-year history is really the only reason they can offer the business model they announced today, because they know intimately how enterprise adoption works, and more importantly, they know exactly why it fails.
Right.
It usually fails because of upfront capital risk, which is why they have introduced what they are calling the 1% upfront impact share model.
No, I need to push back hard on this because it sounds way too good to be true. It sounds like a late-night infomercial.
Yeah.
If EON is deploying 9,000 courses, multi-avatar simulators, and Genesis AI parsing tools, but they're only taking a 1% upfront fee from the enterprise, how are they keeping the lights on? Are they essentially putting a tax on the company's future productivity? How do you even legally measure that?
It's a performance-based contracting model, and it's actually quite elegant. They remove the massive initial capital expenditure that terrifies chief financial officers. Instead of asking a government or a massive corporation to risk $20 million upfront on an unproven curriculum, the impact share model ties the remaining financial compensation directly to measurable, tangible impacts.
Oh, I see. So they are measuring the telemetry.
Yes, exactly. They look at metrics like reduced onboarding time, increased sales closure rates from the simulator practice, or decreased compliance violations. If the platform saves the company $10 million in operational inefficiencies, EON takes a pre-negotiated percentage of those specific savings.
Wow.
But if the workforce doesn't actually reach fluency and the company doesn't save money, EON doesn't reap the full financial reward.
So they are completely aligning their own profit with the client's actual cognitive growth. They are really putting their money where their mouth is.
It is the ultimate vote of confidence in their own platform. And it echoes a quote provided in today's release from EON AI Ventures chairman Dan Lajerskar.
What do you say?
He stated, "This isn't just about reacting to change. It's about preparing for the opportunities AI will create. It's a roadmap, a blueprint, and a bridge to the future."
That's powerful.
He frames this entire ecosystem not as a reaction to sudden technological change, but as a deliberate preparation for it.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this deep dive right now? We started by looking at the trap of dumb AI, the danger of treating the most powerful cognitive tool in human history like a glorified email formatter. We've walked through EON's alternative, a 90-day ladder designed to drag you to the top of Bloom's taxonomy.
Yeah.
A future where an emotionally intelligent Socratic tutor monitors your frustration to keep you learning, and where 4 digital avatars scream at you in a virtual boardroom so you can perfect your conflict resolution skills before you ever risk your actual reputation.
The reality we're looking at today is that AI fluency is no longer just a nice-to-have bullet point at the bottom of a resume. It is the absolute defining skill of the era. It is the barrier that will permanently separate the 2 tiers of the future workforce.
Absolutely.
That makes this deep dive a direct call to audit your own daily workflow. Are you just passively prompting to save 10 minutes? Or are you actively demanding thought partnership to raise your cognitive ceiling?
The tools to achieve that higher tier are no longer theoretical. As of today, with the EON AI Fluency Platform, they're being deployed at a global institutional scale. We've spent the last few years completely obsessed with making the machines smarter. EON AI Ventures is finally pivoting the focus to making the humans smarter alongside them.
It is a necessary pivot, but it does leave us with one final lingering question to consider.
Okay, let's hear it.
We just spent time unpacking how this platform uses highly emotionally intelligent, multi-avatar AI simulators to train humans in soft skills. We are actively using programmatic machines to teach human beings about empathy, conflict resolution, and leadership.
Which is a wild concept when you really stop and think about it.
It is. And if we spend our professional lives practicing our most deeply human interactions inside a simulator governed by artificial intelligence, will our future human-to-human interactions start reflecting the programmatic logic of the AI that trained us?
Oh, wow.
We think we are just getting better at driving the machine, but we have to ask, are we shaping the AI, or is this AI fluency training subtly, permanently reshaping human nature?
That is a profound thought to keep you up at night. Keep exploring, keep questioning how you learn, and we will see you on the next deep dive.